You may have noticed that Sephora is carrying some new hot tools from the BaBylissPRO line, and I picked up both the flat iron and the curling iron. I'm going to let you know my thoughts and how they compare to the OG Babyliss flat iron that I've been using for quite a while. Let's go. I've been using this flat iron for a while, like years. It's been my go-to. I have a few other flat irons, but I tend to use this one pretty frequently, and I like it. I like it for a lot of reasons, but there are some things that I don't love about it. And when they came out with an updated version, I thought maybe this is an upgrade. Maybe they've kept the stuff I love and they've fixed the stuff I don't love. We're gonna see. And then I thought, surely if I love the flat iron, maybe I'm also going to love the curling iron. The curling iron that I use most is the Bio-Ionic curling iron, also sold at Sephora. And most what I like about it is the long barrel. It heats up nicely, it does all that stuff, but it's got a nice long barrel, and because I've got longer hair, it's easier to get everything wrapped around without overlapping too much so that all of my hair gets heat if I have a long barrel one. And so when Babyliss came out with a long barrel curling iron, I wanted to try and compare and see what I thought. So I'm going to run through a demo, unboxing, show you how I use them, how they worked on my hair, and I will give you my final thoughts. start with the flat iron. These two are similar in a lot of ways. They're basically the same length. They look the same. They have the same heat settings, 300 to 465 degrees, and they both have the heat settings, the buttons in the same place, same controls, and they both lock for storage. You want to put it away, you want to keep it together, which is kind of nice. There are some differences. They both have this rubber tip at the top so that while you're flat ironing your hair, if you need to grab the tip for whatever reason, you're not going to burn your fingers off. However, I find that the tip on this one, the original, gets hotter than on the new one. So the new one, I find, has a more functional rubber tip. I guess it's rubber. Is it silicone rubber? It's something on the top that doesn't get as hot. Maybe it's just because it's bigger and so there's a more surface to not get hot. But I find that this one works better for its purpose. This one's also wider, so I can get more hair coverage, a little more heat, and I think it helps me flat iron my hair a little faster, a little more efficiently. It's also thicker. The actual width of the plates are thicker on the new one than on the old one. And that creates a bigger, rounder surface if you use your flat iron for curling. So that's kind of nice. But what I find is that I had to get used to this thickness when getting really close to my roots, because it's easier for this thing to burn my scalp than the older one. The older one was thinner. I could get right up to the root and avoid my scalp. This one, I end up touching my scalp accidentally much easier, and it burns. Now, I think that might just be a learning curve, because you get kind of muscle memory with this stuff when you're using the same tool a lot. You get used to how close you can get and how it holds and all that stuff. And maybe I just haven't totally adjusted and gotten used to this one yet, but I've burned my scalp a couple times with this because of the thickness that when I try to get really close. I could also not get that close to my roots, but I have to straighten my roots. So it's not a huge problem. It's only happened a couple times, but it's happened. I think the thing that drove me the craziest about the old one is that the plates don't go entirely flush together. It may be hard to see, but there's a small gap. There's a small gap. When I just close it, not smash it, but just close it, there's a small gap back here and a smaller gap throughout. It's not clamping down on my hair, and it's not as efficient with straightening. Now you can solve that, you can fix that by just squeezing. But when you're spending 30 minutes flat ironing your hair and you're squeezing each time, that gets annoying on your hand. This one, when you close it, the plates go together. They're still, like when I just tap it together with no force whatsoever, there's still a tiny gap only right here, and with just the slightest pressure. Once I put my hair in there, I don't need any more force than like what feels natural to clamp down the flat iron. I like that a lot. The other difference that I noticed, and maybe there are a lot of like other technical differences, but these are the things that I noticed. The other main difference is the cord. The cord in the new one is like a rope material. It's super long. And the cord in the original is like a regular cord. I think that this cord is probably a little bit more durable. All right, for the curling iron, to me, the curling iron seems like much less carefully thought out than the flat iron. It really does. It's not bad. It's basically a curling iron, but it strikes me as the kind of quality you might get from like a drugstore curling iron, like a Target curling iron, like a $30, $40, $50 max, not even $50, maybe a $20, $30 Target Conair level curling iron. Although I know Conair is very popular and I've had plenty of them, but this is not Conair prices. This is higher end prices, and it just seems to me like it's not the level of quality and effort that they put into this. Like they wanted to add curling irons to the line, so they threw something together. It is not bad. It's a curling iron. It heats up. It heats all the way up to 430 degrees, which is great for a curling iron. Here's the controls. Now the way that you get there, it doesn't have the cool like up and down buttons that you have here. You have to push the power button until you get to the heat that you want to go to. But then once you're there, you stop pushing it and it heats up to that. The good thing about it is the barrel is long, a lot of coverage, great for long hair. It's even longer than the barrel. I'm going to try to start the barrels at the same spot. So starting the metal of the barrels at the same spot, the metal of this barrel stops here. So you've got like an inch and a half, at least an inch and a half left on this one before you get to like this end plastic piece, you know, that you can put your hand on while you're curling your hair. I love that it's that long. And the grip is pretty good. I mean, it basically will hold on to your hair and, you know, but you can still like move your hair. You can still, you know, roll your hair through it to get a curl, to wrap it and then pull it out. That's really nice. So it functions well as a long barrel curling iron. It's just not as amazing as the flat iron. It doesn't do for curling what this does for flat iron, which is think of all kinds of things that the person flat ironing might need and take care of it. A couple other things to note that are kind of annoying about this. Kind of maybe see where they cut corners, like even the cords are different, as I said. This material, this coating, this blue metal coating that's on here looks like it might be chipping or something at a cup. There's no way you'll be able to see it well enough if I put it in the camera, but like it's almost fading in a couple spots. And it's like, well, what is this blue? Is it just going to come off? Why not just make it silver? A couple things about this curling iron. One of them I think I could get used to. The other is going to be tricky. The first one is in my mind, when I was using this the first couple times, the silver, just like mentally, I kept, out of the corner of my eye, I kept thinking that the silver was the barrel and the blue was the handle. And so a couple times I would reach down to grab this thing and like get scared because I thought I was about to grab the barrel. And it might be because, I don't know, because this thing is silver and I don't know, just something in my mind kept making me want to reach, kept making me afraid every time I would reach for this that I was about to grab a hot barrel and I would like hesitate. And I even dropped it once because, and of course it's not, it's the handle. It just was weird to me. That might totally just be me. There's nothing wrong. That has nothing to do with the functionality of the curling iron. Something that does have to do with the functionality or the design that I think is not very well thought out. This metal stand, this little kickstand here, that most curling irons from back in the day have to prop up your curling iron. And I get it, this is long. So a little teeny kickstand like this one, it just flops down on the table. It's not high enough. But then why didn't they just make this longer? Here's why. This thing, if you actually use it to prop up your curling iron, when you go to curl your hair, this thing is hot. And the first time I used this thing and I wasn't paying attention, I burned my neck because I forgot that it was there. I put it in my hair, I curled up close and wherever I was on my head and it went, oh, it burned. So then I moved it out of the way. But why on earth would they create this thing that the idea, you don't need to use it when the curling iron's cold because it's not going to damage your surfaces. So you only want to use this stand when the curling iron is hot or when it's heating up, which means this thing is always going to be hot. So even just to move it out of the way, you have to touch it, which whatever, you can touch it for a second without burning yourself, but it's hot. It's hot. Now it does cool down quickly. So once I move this thing out of the way, like by the next couple of pieces that I curled, it was no longer so hot that I was worried I was going to burn myself. Like my long barrel here has that little stand, but the curling iron itself is a lot higher up. So when I put this on the table and this goes down, there's enough like distance here that it just rests like that rather than like the barrel. Anyway, This is better designed, but this was more expensive than this one. I think this was like 70 some odd dollars, which is, I think, more than the quality of this curling iron, but it's not as expensive as some of the others. Do I recommend you buy them? Do I recommend you buy this if you've already got the other curling iron? Well, I now have both, and I like both. I like all the upgrades of this, and I'm going to keep the other one for like, well, I'm going to keep the other one because I own the other one. But maybe if I only want to get real close to the roots, or something I want to do where I'm like lifting up in there and I want just the more narrow plates, or I'll keep it with my stuff that I always keep sort of tucked away for travel or something like that. So there's nothing wrong with the original other than the things that I've said. I do think that this is better, and I think that I will get used to the thicker plates so that I don't burn myself. But otherwise, it does what it's supposed to do just as well as the other, if not better. On the curling iron, if you like to have matching sets of things, and I'm totally guilty of that, I love to have like a coordinated set of stuff. So I could totally see somebody wanting both just so that they have like a coordinated brand and color scheme for their hot tools, and I would not be mad at you for that. So if that's you, do it. And maybe even if you want to wait for the next Sephora sale so that the price you pay is a little closer to the quality of it, I'd say go for it. I'd say if you're looking for a really long barrel curling iron and you don't want to pay like this kind of price, I also think it's worth it, because long barrel curling irons are not easy to find, not that easy to find. And this one I think is decent. It does the job. It's not terrible. And it's probably going to last long enough to be worth it. I mean, as best I can tell, having owned it for like a month or whatever. So if you want a long barrel curling iron, or if you have the flat iron and you want a matching set, I'd say go for it. They have it in different widths. I think they've got at least 3. I think this is 1 1/4 inches, but it's bigger than this one. I intentionally didn't get the same size in case I still want to be able to use both. Those are my 2 cents. So if you've got either one of those, or if you've been a BaBylissPRO user, let me know what you think and how you think they've done with this new line. As always, thanks for watching. Be blessed, and I hope that you will subscribe, leave a comment, like the video, and come back and see me again next time.